Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to Dawn's Tuesday, 11 o'clock advanced class. Of course, you know what advanced means. You can make it as easy as you want, or you can make it as hard as you want. It's all up to you. I'm trying to add some things to your learning session today. Not only are we going to get some fabulous new chords, but and not fabulous new fingering. Fingering pretty much stays the same. Nobody adds a sixth or a seventh finger, so I won't do that. But we will talk about controlling backgrounds, and I'm going to use the floating away background as the main one. Now, some of you don't have that, and I do understand that, but we don't get a chance to use floating away very much. But when I went to YouTube and listened to The Very Thought of You, which is today's song, there were several artists that just torched it to death. And the very first background that I thought of was floating away for this. So we're going to try it and see what we can do. Now,
what is floating away under?
Floating away is under soft and easy. Soft and easy. Now, there are several of the presets that do come up with some drums. So if you're the type of person that absolutely has to have those drums going on, put them on to start with. And I'm going to show you how to do that once I start playing, because it's very easy to do, very easy. But what do we know about this song? This is a pop standard, and it was recorded and published in 1934 by Ray Noble and his orchestra. Originally, it was sung by Al Bowley on vocals, and it reached #1 on the pop charts. That's how good the song is. Now, there's some bizarro versions. Rick Nelson in 1964 did a rock and roll version. Go figure. So if you're one of those people that has to try it on disco or rock and roll, absolutely go for it, because Ricky Nelson did, and it actually sounded pretty good. Natalie Cole did this in 1992, and on her Unforgettable album, when she did the duet with her dad. There's a rhythm and blues version by Little Willie John in 1961, and he actually worked with a rhythm and blues shuffle background. So those of you that have your jazz shuffle, that would work as well. But the ones that really torched it were Billie Holiday, Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé. Rod Stewart did this on his 1940s album. Yeah, he did a 1940s album that just took some of these old songs, and with his raspy, gravelly voice, he just turned them into lounge gold. And who would have ever thought that Do You Think I'm Sexy Man and Maggie May would do some songs like this and make them really super loungy sexy. Doris Day did this one as well. Nat King Cole, Tony Bennett. You can about imagine how fabulous Tony Bennett. I actually loved Nat King Cole and Tony Bennett's version. They were absolutely spectacular. Ella Fitzgerald did an excellent version, but she jazzed it up a little bit. So if you would like to jazz it up a little bit, Jazz Club at 114, it works very well. If you've got an Easy 10, the traditional guitarist is your little jazz club there, traditional guitarist. If you're on the Freedom 3 Mellow Easy 8-beat or Gospel Guitar Heaven at 76, if you also want to do a dinner and dance version, 84. So you can see my tempos are all over the boards too. So there is no real set tempo on this. Duke's Blues at 76 as well was very nice. So this is just one of those fabulous standards that works with a lot of things. Before I start giving you extra chords, I think I'm going to play it, and I'm going to play it on Floating Away. And let's teach you about how to use the drum variation. Here's what Floating Away sounds like. This is with the drums. Now it comes up like this, which means you really don't have to keep any time, and you can just play. But when you do decide to add the drums, you're going to go to Drum Variation and touch your drum variation, and your drums will come in. And if you want to use that right away at the beginning, please feel free to do so, because that's going to help you stay on the beat. Either way is absolutely spectacular. The hard part is when you want to bring the drums back in and you're off beat because there is no beat. That's when it gets a little tricky, but I'm going to try that. So here we go with the very thought of you on Floating Away, and we're going to start it out with no drums. Okay, wasn't that pretty? I don't know how it came across on Zoom, but it's just so ethereal, and that's kind of what you're looking for. But when you start out with no drums, it's hard to come in smoothly to add the drums, because you're going to be someplace out of sync, because it's so easy to play that Floating Away. You don't have to worry about timing, you just play. Now if you have problems with that, like I said, you can just go ahead and add that drum variation right off the bat and play with the drums to help keep you in the beat. Or you could add a little extra measure and put the drums on and do a little drum solo until you can get back into the sync of it, and watch where your red, green, green, green is, so you know where your downbeat is, and you can come back in. So there's all kinds of stuff. Okay, I see Sue Kelly is in the waiting room. Come on in, Sue. Yeah, this is going to happen. Yep. Okay. Very good. Very good. It's very difficult to get you in late these days, Sue, so they've changed something in Zoom where you can't just jump in. I have to catch it and admit you by hand. So I'm so sorry about that, but that's just a Zoom thing, and we're going to have to deal with it. So
Come in your pajamas.
Yeah, and come in your pajamas, yes. Okay, did you notice some of the things that I did?
Oh yeah, a lot of changes.
A lot of changes. I used my left hand to play some echo notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that, and you can do that on any background, by the way. And if you happen to have a keyboard that you don't have sound on the bottom, like a Freedom 3, you can do your echo notes in the upper octave. You can just jump up the octave, or you can even move your right hand up and just jump the octave. So lots of different ways to do that. Or use your fill-in. Just use your fill-in. That works too. All kinds of different ways to do that. Let's do some extra chords, because there are some fabulous chords here. The very first C. Make it a C6-9. That's one of those 5-finger babies, but it is so gorgeous. Here's just a regular old C chord. Here's a C6, and here's the C6-9. Wow, that That is one pretty chord. Your notes on that are C, D, E, skip a note, G, and A. 5 fingers. C, D, E, G, A. It's absolutely gorgeous chord. Now, if you're struggling with that, plain old C will work. Or even a C add 9, where all you have to play is C, D, and E. And that one sounds like this, and it's easier to play. But if you want to add the 6 and 9, it just adds the spice that really makes that gorgeous. Okay, no more changes until we get to line 2. Third measure, ordinary things. Over the C for or, put a C, chicken. Over the C for nair, that's the third beat of that measure. D minor or D minor 7, which is C, D, and F. Over the C for things, which is the first beat of the next measure. C diminished, which is C and F sharp. And over the C for every, C6. Now, if you don't want to play a C6, just play a plain old C. C6 is a 4-fingered chord. C, E, G, A. Chicken, elephant, gorilla, and alligator, all at the same time. Or just play C, that's okay. Next line, cross out the D. Replace it with A minor or A minor 7, alligator minor 7, which is C, G, and A for 2 counts. Beat 3, which is right after you play the E for do, put your D7 back in. First beat of the next measure, over the whited in half note, go back to the A minor or A minor 7. And beat 3, which is over that blacked in 8th note, go back to the D7. So you're just toggling back and forth between A minor 7 and D7. You can actually just keep your pinky lodged on the C and it's going to be okay.
Daun, would you please repeat what you just did in that measure after the D7?
The second measure over the whited in half note is another A minor or A minor 7. And then over the blacked in 8th note, go back to the D7. So you're just toggling back and forth, A minor 7, D7, A minor 7, D7.
Okay.
Okay? Now that's going to be the spot also, like right before you play that D7, where you want to add the drums. Or you could even do that before you play the A minor, before you get to that measure. That would be where you'd want to add the drums. Or do something to change the sound. Add some strings if you're on jazz club and you're on a piano. That would be the place to add some strings. All right, we'll talk about that later too. Next measure, in a kind of. Over the G, cross out the G, and replace it with D minor or D minor 7. D minor, D and F. Or C, D, and F. Beat 3 over the G for kind.
Dawn,
G, yes?
I'm sorry, what page were you on for that last comment?
156.
I know, but were you at the bottom of the page or the top?
No, I'm at line 3.
All right.
Are you in a different version?
Yeah, could you repeat that?
Yeah. I'm on the line, I'm living in a kind of daydream. See where it is? Got it? I'm living in a kind of daydream. Over the word in, cross out the G and replace it with D minor or D minor 7.
My book is 172.
That's a possibility. This is book 200, which means they're all going to be weird. Over the G, beat 3 for kind. Put in a G7, gorilla 7. Next measure, over the word day, daydream. Cross out the E and replace it with B minor 7 flat the 5th. Or not. You can just play E7, that'll be fine. But this is a neat chord. It's a 4-fingered chord. B, butterfly. D, dinosaur. F, fish. And A, alligator. It's just 4 white keys, and you're skipping a white key in between. And yes, you can put the B on the bottom. It's okay to do that. It's actually easier to play that way. And that's good for 2 counts. Beat 3, which is in between the D half note and the C. You're going to play an E7 or an E7 augmented. E7 augmented is C, D, E, and G sharp. C, D, E, and G sharp. Or you can put the C on top. Doesn't matter. Whichever is easiest to play. Bottom line, happy as a king. The A minor is good for 2 counts. Third beat over the E for the word as, A minor 7, which is A, or C, G, and A, excuse me, C, G, and A. Now you have a choice. Actually, no, I'm not going to give you a choice. I'm going to make you learn this chord. Instead of the D and B7, cross those 2 out. We're going to put in the nice chord. F, sharp, minor, 7, flat, 5. Woohoo! Now hopefully you've got a piece of paper next to your sheet that you're writing in the chords on here so you can write in what the notes are so you don't make a big mess all over, because I'm giving you a lot of chords. So hopefully you're writing on a separate sheet of paper what these chords actually are. F sharp minor 7 is C, chicken, E, elephant, F sharp, sharp frogs, and A, alligator. So you're not moving very many fingers. If your A minor 7 is here, you're just changing around a couple of fingers. And that's good for 2 counts. Beat 3, which is in between the notes. F7, which is E flat and F. Foolish though it may seem, that's where I am right now. Make that E minor an E minor 7. Now remember, 7s are optional. E minor is E and G. E minor 7 is D, E, and G. And that's good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the G for though, C minor, which is C and E flat, or C minor 6, which is C, E flat, G, and A. Cross out the D or D7 over May and replace it with plain old G. Beat 3. In between the notes, in between seam and 2, put in a D or a D7 or a D9. D9 is, yeah, that's a 4-fingered chord. C, D, E, F sharp. If you're going to play C and D, you might as well add the E and the F sharp. Here's the difference in sound. Here's the D. Here's the D7. Here's that D9, 4 fingers. Whoa, now that's a pretty chord. But if you can't handle it, just play plain old D. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Learn 1 chord every time you learn a song, and pretty soon your repertoire of chords is going to get pretty big. All right, the top of the 2nd page, me, that's everything. Make that D minor a D minor 7. Cross out the G and throw it away. We're going to just turn that into a D minor 7 as well. Over the 8th rest, put an N dot, C dot, no chord. That's a good place to change keyboards or change a preset. The mirror idea of you. Make that C a C6, 9. C, D, E, G, A.
Would you repeat that one?
Yep, C69, C, chicken, D, dinosaur, E, elephant, skip the F, G, gorilla, and A, alligator. You got a whole zoo there.
Holy cow.
That's a whole zoo. No, the cow's
Okay.
not in there. Yes, it is, actually.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, my
Sorry.
goodness. No more changes till line 2, third measure. Over the C. Now we're just going to repeat exactly what we did on the first page. Know how slow the moments go till I'm. That's where we are. Over the C for no. C, chicken. Over the C for slow. Beat 3. D minor, dinosaur minor, or dinosaur minor 7. Next measure, over the C for moments. C diminished, which is C, and F sharp. And over the C for go, beat 3, C or C6. C is just plain old C, and if you want to make it a 6, you got to put 4 fingers in. C, E, G, A. Chickens, elephants, gorillas, and alligators. Let's go to the third line. Near to you. Near to you. Cross out the D and replace it with A minor or A minor 7, C and A, or C, G and A. Beat 3, which is right after you play the E dotted half note. Put your D or D7 back in. Now we're going to repeat those 2 chords in the next measure. Over the whited in half note, beat 1, A minor or A minor 7. Beat 3 over the blacked in 8th note, D or D7. So you're just going back and forth, A minor 7, D7, A minor 7, D7.
Where does that last D7 go? You said over what?
the blacked in 8th note.
Okay, before I.
Correct, right before I.
And what was that again? Oh, what, D7?
D7, yes ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Next measure, cross out the G or G7 and replace it with D minor or D minor 7. C, D, F. I'm going to make you work today.
Yeah.
Over the G for every, which is beat 3. G or G7. Put that one back in. Gorilla 7, F and G.
My favorite.
Now, the next one, flower. Cross out the E and replace it with that B minor 7 flat the 5th. B, little m, 7, flat, 5. 4-fingered chord. Here it is. B, butterfly, D, dinosaur, F, fish, and A, alligator.
Would you say that again? You said that's B minor 7?
B minor 7, flat 5.
And what were those notes again, John?
B, butterfly, D, dinosaur, F, fish, and A, alligator.
Thank you.
It's actually easier to play than it is to write.
Yeah.
Beat 3, which is in between the D and the C, E7, or E7 augmented, which is C, D, E, and G sharp. Or just play D and E. That's it. No worries. The A minor is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the E for stars. Make it an A minor 7. Okay, the next measure, you may play the D or D7, or you may substitute a chord we've already had, F sharp, minor, 7, flat, 5. Oh my goodness. It's easier to play than it is to write, guaranteed. C, chicken, E, elephant, F sharp, and A, alligator. Here's the D7. Here's that F sharp minor 7 flat the 5th. Oh, that just adds some fabulous spice. And then in beat 3, over the blacked in 8th note, put an N dot C dot. No chord.
Mm.
Last line, thought of you. Cross out the G and replace it with D minor. I guess you could make it a D minor 7 if you want. And beat 3 over the blacked in 8th note G or G7. And the very last C of the song, make it a C6-9. Or just play C and throw in the ending. Whatever you feel like doing. Okay.
And that would be C, D, E, G, A.
C, D, E, G, A. Absolutely correct. Any questions before we move on to fingering?
We're going to be
Good.
sweating when we finish this one.
Yes, you will be. That's okay. That's a gorgeous song.
Hey, Dawn. Hey,
Yeah.
Dawn. I lost you on the second page, those first two two lines. What were the chords there real quick
The
again?
first two lines of the second page.
Yes.
Me, that's everything. Make the D
Yeah.
minor a D minor 7.
Okay.
Cross out the G and throw it away. We're going to stick with the D minor 7.
Okay.
Over the 8th rest, which is beat 3, put in a no chord and C.
Okay.
And then everything's a repeat from page 1 from there.
Okay.
Make the C a C6-9.
Okay.
And then line 2, the last two measures. Just the same as you did in the first page. C, D minor 7. The last measure is C diminished and C6.
Thank you.
Dawn, can you go to the last line of page 1?
Yes.
And what did you change on the first measure?
First measure, all I did was go to beat 3 over the E for the word as and make it an A minor 7.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know there was a lot of chords today, so it's very easy.
John, on
for
the second
people to get
page,
lost.
top line where you said put in a no chord, then you
Yes.
said you could change and add something there.
Yep.
What
I
would
went
you?
to the lower keyboard. When I played it this time, I went to the lower keyboard.
Okay.
If you want to put in a different preset, depending
Okay.
on which rhythm you're using, that's a place to press a different preset as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Hey, Dawn,
Yes.
on page 2, last line, can you go over those chords again?
Last line on page 2. Cross
Yes,
out the
please.
G. Make it a D minor, dinosaur minor. And beat 3 over the blocked in 8th note, put the G7 back in. And the very last C, make it a C6-9.
9. Okay.
So after
Thank
you
you.
play the C6-9, you still play the F minor and the C.
You still play the F minor and the C, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Excuse me, Dawn. On page 1,
Yep.
the last line, is
Okay.
there something after the F sharp minor 7 flat the 5th?
Yes. In beat 3, there's an F7.
Okay, thank you. I thought that's what you said. Thank you.
Perfect. Yay. All right. Let's do some fingering. And the very last thing I do will be adding in those echo notes. So we'll do the fingering first because the echo notes are optional. Completely optional.
But they're pretty.
All right. E1, G3, E1, G3, 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 E1, G3, E1, A4, 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 check mark at the end of that held A. The little A1, C3, A1, C3 all the way across. And the third line is E5, E5, E5.
Wait a minute. Okay.
All those C's and A's are 1s and 3s.
Okay.
A1, C3, A1, C3, A1, C3 all the way across.
Okay. And then the E's?
E's are all 5s. At
Okay.
the end of that held E, at the end of the long tie, check mark. I'm living, E3, G5, E3, G5. E3, G5, E3. D2, D2. C can either be a 3 or a 1. If you make it a 3, you're just going to have to put a little check mark and lift your hand and take a breath there. Or you can put a 1 and just make sure you put an arrow then on the next E. And the last line, make that E a 5. E5, C3, E5, C3, B2, A1, G2 with a circle. That means you're crossing it over. E1, G2, A1, circle that one. You're tucking it under. Now, if you can come up with an easier fingering right there, please feel free to do so and erase mine and put your own in. That's perfectly legal. Just make sure you're making smooth, nice fingering and you're not stumbling all over the place. B2, B2, C3. Top of the second page, me, that's everything. D4, C3, A2, F1, D2 with a circle, cross it over. It also works 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so whichever one your finger gets to the first. The mere idea of you, E1, G3, E1, G3, G3, G3. The longing, E1, G3, E1. Second line, here for you, A4, A4, A4. At the end of that held A, check mark. A1C3, A1C3, all the way across. A1C3, 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 A1C3. That's why I changed all those chords. If you just left it on one chord, that would sound very boring. And I'll play that for you again, the way it's written, and then with the new chords, and you'll go, yeah, that's the way it should sound. Line 3, near to you, E5, E5, E5. At the end of that long held E, check mark. E3, G5, E3, G5, E3, G5, E3. Fourth line, the word flower. D2, D2. C can either be a 3 with a little check mark before it or a 1, depending on whichever way you like. But that E is going to be a 5. C3, E5, C3. A can be 1 or 2. Little check mark after that A. E1, G3, E1. And the very last line, G3, G3, G3. Watch this one, E1, G2. Now, if you want to do a 3 there because it's comfortable, go ahead. But I switched it to a 2 so I could reach up to that high one, E1, G2, 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 and the high E5. Now, if you want to put a 3 in those Gs, I don't care. And then if you want to do a glissando up to that high E, that works as well. The last C can either be a 3 or a 1. Why? Because if I do a 1, I can do a little finger roll from the E to the C, and then you can put in your squiggle lines. Now, I don't know if you want to do a glissando and a finger roll. That might be a little much. Might be much. Choose one or the other. All
Daun,
right.
Daun,
Yes. Yes.
why are you putting in the 2 NOR codes?
Ken, for drama. Oh.
Yeah.
You always want to put some white spaces for a little bit of drama in the middle of your music. Yep. Because then it knocks out everything but your drums, and it just gives your audience a chance to, catch their breath and start the new section. That's what it is. It just creates a little bit of drama. All right. I want to play. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
First page, third line, first measure. The E's are 5s, and then you go over above the word I'm. Is that still a? Could you repeat those fingering there? Is it 3, 5, 3, 5 there?
Yes, that's exactly where the 3, 5 starts.
Okay, so E is 3, G is 5, E is 3, G is,
Correct.
okay,
Yep.
okay. And then you
Correct.
get to the D and it's a 2. Okay,
Correct. Yep.
thank you.
Now I am going to play the, let's just play the first 2 lines on a C chord. This is how easy play is written. I've got the drums going, but I just want you to hear what the chords are doing. First, let's just see how it's written. Okay, that's how it's written. Kind of boring, huh? All right. Now we're going to play it with the chords, and I want you to listen for the differences. And I'm also going to put the echo in so you can hear what I'm doing there. Oops.
You're singing.
Okay, did you hear a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Chords give some motion and some movement to that little part. You can also, little ordinary things that everyone ought to do, you can also lean in on your gas pedal. Give it a little bit of a dynamic boost or put in that little crescendo so that you can just get a little bit louder, ordinary things, and just lean on it and make it a little bit louder so that when you get to those high notes, I'm living in a kind of daydream. And then you can kind of bring it back down. So your dynamics are going to be real important in this as well. But
Where do
that's
you
the
back
spot.
down?
Ordinary things that everyone ought to do. Where I added those 4 chords, that's where you want that little crescendo to go.
But when would you get quiet again, or is it?
When you come down from I'm happy as a king and foolish though it may seem,
Okay.
to me, that's everything. When the notes come down,
You
it
go
just
down.
makes sense that you would go down.
Right.
Then you start with a new idea, the mere idea of you. Wow. This is such a
Okay.
romantic song if you think about it. All right,
You
let's
can
go
feel
to a
it.
different background. I'm going to do the Ella Fitzgerald version. And I'll tell you what those echo notes are in a minute. But I'm going to do the Ella Fitzgerald version, which is on Jazz Club at 114. And there's a piano on top and some horns on the bottom. And I'm just using rhythm preset 0. So you can choose. I'm going to put some strings in as well to add to that piano. And I may even put a duet in later, or I might just move my hand to the lower keyboard to change it up. But listen to what happens here. A little bit jazzier. Now, if you wanted to use an intro, you could have. I skipped it. Totally different feel, isn't it? I bounced on the notes, yes. Yeah, and if you go to YouTube and listen to Tony Bennett or Nat King Cole versus Ella Fitzgerald, you're going to hear wonderful versions, but the Ella Fitzgerald version is a much jazzier version. And it just kind of depends on what kind of a mood you're in that day as to how you end up playing that. Yep. So did you notice where I put in the echoes? All I'm doing is repeating. I'm doing the very thought of you. Then I'm using my left hand because I already played the chord. The chord's going to hold. And I brought it up to the upper part of the lower keyboard and just repeated the notes, E, G, E, G, G, G. So I just wrote, right after the very thought of you, I wrote left hand, L, H, L, echo. Left hand, lower, echo. And all you're doing is repeating the notes. You're holding the G. That's all you're doing. Then you're playing it again. And right there, forget to do, I wrote the same thing. Left hand, L, H, L, echo. So I'm going to do that echo again down here. Just repeat the notes. It's as easy as that. But it sounded really cool, didn't it? And if you listen, I think it's the Nat King Cole version where he actually has the echoes in his original piece. So listen, if you go to Nat King Cole, he'll have those echoes. If you do the Tony Bennett, he's got Buddy Hackett on the cornet. And instead of echoes, he's got that trumpet playing a completely different little blurb. So if you wanted to make up your own little blurb, you could, which is what I actually did on the second page. And that's the same thing. When you do the mirror idea of you, now I'm just switching keyboards. So my right hand was on the lower keyboard. My left hand now has to go to the top. Left hand upper, echo, or whichever way you choose to do it. I just did a C, D, A, G run. You could have echoed again, but I did a completely different little blurb. C, D, A, G. And you can play that twice. You can do it after the longing here for you. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're pretty good yet. Or you could just make up something else. The first time I started on C, C, B, A, G. Now I started on E. But I had to do 5 notes down to make it work. E, D, C, B, A. Or just do the echo again. Or make up something different. Or if you don't want to do that, guess what else works? Fill in. Fill in. That works just fine.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's try this on Dinner and Dance. I won't play the whole thing, but this also gives you a very sexy way to play it. It's on 84. That's what Dinner and Dance comes up. Now this would be a good place to add a duet, if you wanted to add a duet there. Okay, so that's Dinner and Dance at 84. I also did this on Duke's Blues. And again, I just used rhythm preset 0, and I'm at 75. I won't play the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I'll start at the Mere Idea of You. leaning on that gas pedal. Just make that whole thing. Not only are you changing the chords, but you're building the excitement. How slow those moments go till I'm near to you. You know, you're just building the anxiety, and that's what those dynamics can do with your foot pedal. I also did this on, oh no, I guess that was the last one I did. I thought I did another one.
So the echoes can be put in wherever the held notes are.
Pardon?
The echoes can be put in where the held notes are.
Correct, where you're holding those notes, and there's 4 different places for it.
Right.
The first 2 times I did the very thought of you, and I just repeated the very thought of you, and I forget to do, and I forget to do. You're just repeating the same notes. It's just an echo. You can do those same things on Mere Idea of You and Longing Here for You. Or you can make up your own notes. I just did a little run. All right, somebody's interfering. We got too many microphones on. Question.
Ramon went ahead.
Yes.
Okay, Ramon, go ahead.
You added the duet on third line,
Yes.
second measure?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Oh, that's where you put it.
That's
Okay.
a good place. I'm living in a kind of daydream. That's just a good place to put it. Right after I did that big swell, then you can put that duet on, and now you're making it more grandiose, and then you're going to bring the dynamics down a little bit anyway till you get to the Mere Idea of You, and you change it all up again. I'm going to play it one more time. Go ahead.
Page 2, line 4, second thing.
Second
Can
measure.
you tell me what the chords are there?
Your Eyes in Stars.
Yes.
Your Eyes in Stars. A minor is the written chord, and over the word stars, make it an A minor 7. And the first chord of the next measure is that F sharp minor 7 flat, the 5th, or just play D7.
Okay, that's what I had. It just didn't look right. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, that is right. I'm going to go back to the floating away. And I'm going to just leave the drums on because it does make it easier. Because this is just a really nice little background. There's not a lot of songs that we really get a chance to use floating away. But try that because just by adding the drum variation, because there's no drums when you first turn it on, a lot of people have a tendency to shy away from that background. But if you put on that drum variation, it gives you just enough beat to be able to stay with the music.
Dawn, when you did the duet, where exactly did you put it in?
I didn't do it in this last
No,
one because it already
but-
had harmony. I had
Right.
that one on Dinner and Dance when I started with strings, and I
Okay.
put the duet on in line 3 right
Okay.
after Ought to Do. And when I
Okay.
went into I'm Living, right before then, that's when I added the duet.
Okay.
Dawn, floating away, is that, do you go in to the rhythm to find that?
Pardon, what, Floating Away?
Yeah,
Floating Away is under Soft and Easy, or you can go into your style list.
yeah, okay.
Floating
Hey, Dawn.
Away.
Hey, Dawn, when you did the floating away first time
Uh-huh.
without the drums, when did you actually put the drum variation in?
Where I would have put the duet in for the Dinner and Dance. Line 3, right between Ought to
Okay,
Do
cool.
and I'm Living.
All right.
But that does get kind of tricky because every now and then you're a little bit behind the beat or ahead of the beat, and then when you put the drums in, you have to wait a beat or two to catch up. And so it can be a little tricky to be smooth to get back into that. But give it a try because it really makes it dramatic, and we love drama. Oh.
Dawn, what background would I use on the fanfare?
On the fanfare, you have any of your smooths are going to be fabulous, or your traditional guitarist, which is the jazz guitarist, or pop guitarist, which is guitar standard 4/4.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Okay, don't forget at 1 o'clock today, there is a marquee and aria workshop. And all Rialto owners are, and you guys can go.
And isn't there a 4:30 Christmas song workshop?
That might be today too. I didn't see it, but
is, I think
yeah,
so.
that might be today too. Yep. And anybody who wants to join me for Conductor Magic, which I know there's 1 or 2 of you in here, at 2:30 is the Conductor Magic workshop, and today we're working on Beautiful Brown Eyes. So you can go from super advanced to super easy, but you can always learn something. So that's a good
Always.
thing. Yep. Yep. You
You're
guys
the
are
best.
awesome. Do not forget, Zoom Musical this week is not on Friday. It is changed to Sunday at 4 o'clock Florida time, 1 o'clock Arizona time, and it will be Mr. Art Bishop, who is a gospel specialist. He's very good. He plays by ear. So you might catch him at 4 o'clock on Sunday.
That'd be 3 o'clock mine.
3 o'clock your time? Yes. Yep.
Yeah, for now.
Yep. Unless you're watching football.
That was Sunday.
In my house, all the football games are on all Sunday long. All of them.
Better watch the red zones.
You see their bear game? They pulled it out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
What's the song
Packer-
next week?
The song for
Packers
next
going
week.
great, though.
We've only just begun. Now we've only just begun. Okay, so I don't want to mute all you guys. All right, the song for next week. The song for next week is We've Only Just Begun. And I'll do a nice arrangement for that. We're going to add some chords to this one too. Yeah, I think we'll just work on the one. I think we can do some really nice stuff on this. I know you've had some of you have had it before, but sometimes a review is a good thing. Because that's unfortunately, that's going to be Hal Leonard. We're going to repeat songs from book to book. And that's, some people only come to this class, so I can't skip a song and exclude some of the people that only come on Tuesdays. Any other questions? You may now unmute yourself if you need to. Because I did mute you all so we could hear the next song. Are we good?
We're
All right.
good. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dawn.
Dawn.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Dawn. It's a very nice class.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Love you
too.
too.
Next time.
Thanks for all you do. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
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 Bye.